Ludwig, congratulations on Black Panther Wakanda Forever. The film has so much emotion, so much action. It's the perfect blend of exactly what I wanted from this film. And your music just enhances the film even more. First question I have for you, though, is Black Panther has some of the most iconic music in the MCU. How has it evolved since the first Black Panther film?
Man, thanks, Joe. It's great to be talking to you.
Yeah.
It's been, it was the evolution of it was very different. Because when I read the script the first time, the first rendition of the script, it had Chadwick was in it and T'Challa was in it. So I was starting to imagine, okay, well, how are we gonna take these themes move forward and but then the tragic passing of Chadwick and also things I started to think about, like, how are we gonna, there's so many sounds and instruments and themes that are tied also to his character and in the first movie, so I don't even know if we're gonna be able to use them again, and because it has to feel right, like all these sounds and all these themes and all these instruments, they have such an emotional weight to it. So as soon as you hear the talking drum, you're like, oh, I think about T'Challa. So that was the big challenge, and then obviously coming up with the sound for Namor and the Telecons. It's a completely new world, and we're spending a lot of time with them. We spend a lot of time seeing their worlds for the first time, and when I read the script, talked to Ryan, he's telling me, he told me about that it's the stories and his people are like very heavily inspired by Mayan culture, and that was extremely inspiring for me because I was able to travel. I was able to travel to Mexico and to Mesoamerica and start working. I wanted to record Mayan music, but I quickly realized that music is gone. It was forcibly erased 500 years ago. There's no traces. They don't know how the music was performed. They don't know. There's no sheet music. There's no musicians from generations to generations. It's gone. So I started working with some music archaeologists in Mexico City that's specializing in recreating some of the instruments. They found some of the instruments in some of the graves. They've seen the codex. They see what type of instruments they're playing, like seashells, turtle shells, and so we started recording and reimagining what the Mayan sound could have been like, and so that was the interesting part of putting the sound and music for Namor.
Whoa, that's incredible! I didn't know that has essentially been erased through history, and then you guys are essentially recreating what the sound would have sounded like had it kind of existed through the research you guys did. That's really fascinating. Question I have for you, though, is that can you talk a little bit about the legacy of Chadwick Boseman and T'Challa, and how you honor T'Challa throughout the film, even though he's not in it?
Yeah, I mean, like, what you hear in the first movie, the whole first movie is basically driven by the talking drum, which kind of became the sound that was T'Challa's sound, and it was the Black Panther sound. So in this movie, we had to be just spend a lot of time on how we're placing that sound. How would we place that sound in a way where it feels right, and also what do we do with the Black Panther theme? How are we gonna place that? How are we gonna, we're following the story of a lot of people, but Shuri is kind of center of the story, and she's dealing with this with she's a completely different character than she is in the first movie. She's been going through a lot. She's a grown woman now, and so she's dealing with a lot of grief, and she's pushing it down, and so her melody and her theme is played and sung by Georgia Smith. It's in the vocals in the beginning, so you hear that vocal line develop as her story arc continues, and when she finally realizes what type of leader she is going to be and who she is, you have it. The melody goes from intimate vocals, like this huge bombastic, like distorted synthesizer, and it just like kind of hits you in your face. And then somehow that theme morphs and goes into symbiosis with the Panther theme, you know, and they work together and they're connected. And just that journey was very important to get right musically.
That's incredible. Now, with Riri Williams being introduced to this film, the character has ties to Iron Man and potentially other MCU characters. Did you take any inspiration from any existing MCU scores, perhaps like Iron Man, or did you kind of create something completely new for her?
It was something completely new, you know. We're just kind of getting to start exploring what her sounds is. Obviously, she's from Chicago, but like more than that, like we're just at the beginning of starting exploring her sound.
With Black Panther Wakanda Forever, it taps into a ton of different emotions: grief, rage, fear, etc. How do you tap into these emotions with your music to enhance the scene without overpowering them?
You know, I think with this, what was so different with this musical experience is that Ryan and I have been talking about for a long time how we can make a completely immersive sound and music experience. And so on this one, I was working on the score and on the soundtrack at the same time, making songs, creating score, which is normally like two completely different departments, but like here doing it simultaneously. And while I was creating the score, I was creating the songs. I was using score elements in the songs and song elements in the score. And the artists that I was working with in Mexico, the contemporary artists in Mexico and Nigeria, while I was writing with them, I was showing them the script. They were still shooting, so I was showing them the script. We were writing the songs based on the script. I'll send the songs as soon as we had them to Ryan. Ryan played it on set. He played it to his actors. We went to Nigeria together, me and Ryan. And he was editing the movie in Lagos at nights, and I was in the studio at nights. And then at daytime, he came and joined my studio sessions when we were working with some incredible artists and writing the songs for the movie and working on the score at the same time. So everything was a very organic experience, how everything came together and how the song and the score moves in together. Like it's very connected, like one tissue.
Right. Now, speaking of those fantastic artists, I have to ask about Rihanna. Can you talk to me about the collaboration process working with Rihanna on the new song, Lift Me Up?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the timing of that and how it all came together is kind of, it's like, it was like a very magical moment, you know, because the movie is essentially about, you know, it's about motherhood.
Right.
And how that connected with where she is in her career and personal life too. And the way we started the song was Ryan and I started a song a while ago, and I had this kind of like a little musical idea that I asked Ryan to write some lyrics over. And then we flew to Nigeria and we got in a session with Thames, and she added this beautiful verse on top of it, and it started coming together, and I was like, okay, this is incredible. And we went back to LA and like eventually got in the studio with Riri, and you know, I particularly worked on every little single detail with her for a couple of weeks, and you know, so it was a very magical moment, you know.
And you know, and it's displayed throughout the film because your music definitely enhances the story. It makes those emotional moments really impact you. Look, thank you so much for your time. You're amazing at what you do. I can't wait for people to see your work in Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and I can't wait to hear more of your stuff in Mandalorian 3. But thank you so much, Ludwig. I really appreciate your time.
Thanks.